Hello there, friends. I am Antojai, and I teach people how to turn Ascension into their everyday lifestyle. So, have you ever stopped and ever thought about substances, any sort of substances, whether it is caffeine or weed or some other drug, alcohol? Have you ever thought about them and the vibrational output that they apply to you and how you can get over them? Well, that's what this whole entire video is all about. So before we get started, I want you to press subscribe. I want you to share it with your friends when you're done and you feel like someone needs this message. And of course, share your experience in the comments below because I definitely want to hear them. Also, any other topics that you feel like would definitely help you, post them below so I can make topics for you. So today's substance is going to be, one of our favorite friends here, coffee. So if you're one of those people who drinks coffee and you kind of get the jitters, well, there's a lot going on behind the experience. A lot of people just be like, oh yeah, I'm wired, but what is that wiring actually triggering? So here's my story. When I was in college, I was working like crazy to basically make it by as a college student. One day I went to work, and shamanism, since it's my life, I do it all the time. I had this thought of like, well, a lot of times we do shamanic experiences with like substances like ayahuasca or DMT, and we do them in high quantities to have an extrasensory or external experience that will connect us with something higher than ourselves. If every substance somewhat triggers something inside of us, what would coffee do to me? So on that day, I was probably 19 years old, and I started chugging coffee while I was chugging, and I was like, well, it's going to give me a lot of energy to get everything done, or it's going to open up something that I really need to understand. This is what I ended up learning from that experience. I got so wired that I felt completely disconnected from reality. I felt like the floors were starting to like twist, and I got to a point where I was like, I did this so I could be more productive, and I cannot be productive because I'm now hitting like this transcendental state, almost like tripping, that I didn't even think would come from having coffee. So I had to go home early that day, and the rest of the day I spent meditating because I was so and during that time that I'm home and I'm meditating, I'm like, man, why did I do this to myself? Because this is not like LSD, this is not like marijuana, this is not like mushrooms, this is something completely different, a different monster of its own. And when I was going through that experience, I ended up really taking some time to study my body. I was looking at my body and I was feeling like the jitters, like, oh my God, when is this gonna go away? I want to do something, but I don't know what to do. I was having that experience. And then all of a sudden it hit me, like I was feeling like vibrations, like certain areas of my body. And I was like, what is that vibration tied to? So then I sat down and I just connected with my body, connecting with my body and talking to the substance of coffee and treating coffee like a spiritual, sacred substance, basically, is what I was forced to interact with it as. And as I was interacting with it, I could see that all of that was this nasty vibration that was like on my layers of energy, which were tied to fear. Like I had those jitters because I gotta get something done. Oh my God, like there's so much I gotta get done and I have all this energy, but why am I not being productive? Oh my God, like I have all this energy and like I should be doing something with it. Oh my God, like it was all these mental thoughts of like, I have a ton of energy. There's a lot of things I gotta do. Why am I not using that energy? And then reverberating back, I got a ton of energy. There's a ton of stuff to do. Why haven't I not done anything yet? And it was like this constant loop of like feeling this anxiety. And then finally I was like, I'm going to relinquish into these feelings instead of having the substance take over me and my experience and making me feel this anxiety and fear and stagnation. I'm going to allow myself to relinquish myself into the substance, just like when you go on any other trip. And when I did that, I noticed that all those just stopped. And it was like I was in complete peace. I was still feeling the surge of energy go through me, but I was no longer feeling anxious. I had to sit with myself and be like, I have all this energy, I have all this fear, I have this anxiety, but none of it is real. All of it, like, I'm being taken for a ride instead of making the ride work for me. And that's why I ended up getting out of work, because I thought that this ride was going to lead me somewhere, but I was the conductor of my trip the whole entire time. And since I started off my trip without really having a clear understanding of what I was getting into, what the substance could actually do, because at that point I had never heard of people taking caffeine in those large doses and then having a hallucinogenic experience. I had never heard about that. So having that experience, I was like, oh, okay, well, when you chug a ton of caffeine, it's going to make you, it's a really intense trip, really super intense. But it really taught me, like, the only way I was going to survive is by getting a hold of myself. Like, all these jitters were going to rather drive me insane or make me feel extremely sick. And the moment I let go and I stopped resisting, and I was like, I'm just going to exist with myself even though I have all this energy, I felt all the caffeine just go right into my third eye, and boof, it expanded into everything in the cosmos. And I was just kind of like, whoa. And I spent the next probably like 6 hours in this really deep meditation, Kundalini meditating, and like connecting with all the aspects that were tied to the Kundalini, because I had this surge of energy. And that's the main thing that you gotta learn. Like, caffeine itself, even though we treat it as like an everyday like helper, it is in some levels a sacred substance. It has the ability to make you hallucinate. It has the ability to take you on a shamanic voyage. And that's why, it's really hard for people to even let go of coffee, because when you drink coffee, you get the energy. It kind of like replays all those fears. Oh, I'm drinking coffee because I have to get stuff done, because there's a lot to do. I'm still a slave to time. Time is working against me. So drinking this coffee is going to get me to the next step, period. Right? And then you're kind of like revalidating by just drinking the coffee and the energy that it creates, because it's an energy, it's a substance that creates energy. And if you're taking a substance that creates energy, then you're taking the energy from your root chakra, which is creation energy, birthing energy, tantric energy, and you're putting it out into the cosmos. So every time you wake up in the morning, what are you thinking about when you're charging that manifestation of creation? Are you drinking a cup of coffee being like, oh God, today's gonna be so stressful, I gotta have more coffee just to be ready for it? And you might have noticed that your day ends up being really hectic, really impactful, and you get through it because of the coffee, but it was probably a lot stressful. And then you feel like this codependency, like, oh man, I would have never been able to get out of that without the coffee. Little do you recognize that you're using this sacred substance called coffee to program your day, which is saying you wake up in the morning, today's going to be really intense. I need like 4 cups of coffee to get over through this day. You've already set your manifestation. The coffee's going to carry that manifestation through, hyper speed it. You'll get through it, but you'll feel tired at the end. Similar to the processes and the effects of coffee when you drink too much of it. You have a high and then you crash down. So when you wake up in the morning, you're going to have a coffee. I'm not saying cut it out of your system, even though coffee is not really good for your energetic system overall. If you're going to drink it on a regular basis, remember it's a ritual. Like, when you wake up and you're having your coffee, today's going to be amazing. Today's just going to be in flow. Today's my day. Like, everything's just absolutely amazing. I am going to slay today because, hey, this is my way and source is everything. That's how you have to start treating your ritual with coffee. Even if you want to, thank you, coffee, for being a manifestation amplifier. Now, in shamanic ritual, you take coffee beans and coffee grounds to manifest. It speeds up the manifestation. All right. So it's a very like fire, earth energy. It grounds you and then skyrockets you. So pay attention to sacred substances. Everything in the cosmos has a vibration. Everything in the cosmos, whether you recognize it or not, has a consciousness that will lead and trigger another consciousness to interact with you. When you start taking control of these sacred substances, these shamanic tools that are right in front of your face, you end up learning something that I have dubbed as metaphysical naturalism, or how to be naturally metaphysical all the time. Ascension as a lifestyle. Sending you so much love.